But a solution that was built in Excel today could easily be a BI solution tomorrow. So today's Excel analyst, tomorrow's business intelligence analyst. I'll give this a moment here to update. And there are a lot of kind of new features, at least on the Power BI side, kind of with the monthly updates, constantly being just available. I always tell everyone, you can break Power BI for a moment, but you can't break Excel. That would break the world. So right here, we have our query. We can look at our applied steps, view native query. It's good. It's performant. It's an awesome SQL statement. We talked about the kind of the copy and paste. So with this, I'm going to go either to the Home tab, Advanced Editor, or I'm going to go to our view, and we'll do just kind of the larger button here, Advanced Editor. So two different options to get here. The underlying language is the M language. So M stands for mashup language. So I'll just kind of zoom in here now. So this is obviously a syntax, just is strongly typed, case sensitive, partially lazy, as many words as you want to come up with. But on the right-hand side, we saw the applied steps kind of in a top to bottom order. That is not the case. I will go ahead and I'll just insert my cat's names equals. I'll store these in a list. We'll add this as a new step here within our. Here we go. I'll store this in a list. Elise, Ivan. Man, I don't know what is going on here. Must just be the sharing. It is sluggish. And I'll store a list of numbers from 1 until 100. Cool. So in a traditional sense, we would probably look at this and go, well, you're going to break kind of the Power Query here. There is, I don't know where this cat name thing is going. Right-hand side here, applied steps, it still works. I click on cat names. I can see it now being rendered. It's a list of items. Next step, skips it. Removed other column, skips it. So partially lazy, if it does not need any of that, it will not use the compute. It will not use any of those resources here, obviously, to execute that individual applied step. So really, it's kind of this final end statement. If we were to jump back over here, in removed other columns, this is where Power Query is going to try and return, what is the path? So if I was to kind of do 1, it's going to say, all right, so from removed other columns right here, filter rows right here, and then this one goes to sales LT address right here, and then this one goes to AdventureWorks LT right here. So it just kind of constantly moves from the bottom up, finding what is my reference. And it can skip steps too. In this example, we skipped from 4 down to 6. It can skip up, back, down, obviously just avoiding circle references or things of that nature, but it can be a very dynamic language. So I say this as, well, we talked earlier, we could just write the SQL statement. All right, so let's see what that looks like. So I'm just going to duplicate this now, if you don't mind. We'll do duplicate. And we'll do, I'm going to delete this for a second. I'm just going to steal kind of this generated SQL. Awesome. Paste. This is a read-only window. I'm hitting my keyboard furiously. I can't edit it, so just read-only copy. Go back to our source. Works LT. If we remember our advanced options, we could write a SQL statement. So I'm just going to paste this here now. Press OK. And we'll get this updated. So this is for our SQL DBAs who just love writing my SQL, love putting my hands on the keyboard. I don't want to do any point and clicks at all. We're just going to just leverage kind of the language of SQL then. Give this one moment. There we go. Microsoft. Yep, let me go ahead and sign in. Cool. Oh, of course. Let's do connect. Do one more time. All right, let me go back, then I'll just duplicate it. And we'll do delete until end. Actually, I'll just do recent sources. It's working on it. I'm just trying to figure out. Here we go. Here we go. So lt.address. And actually, that's what I want to avoid.
Hey, Alex, real quick, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Do you mind zooming in a bit? I think
yeah.
Some of the folks are seeing too small of a font.
Yep.
Thanks.
We'll do a new source. We'll do kind of SQL Server. I'm going to paste in the address here this time. Let's use dialog. Come on. All right, so I'm going to close out of Excel. We're going to jump over into get the prompts. There we go. So I'll copy this again. Just having fun. VentureWorks. Go to select star. Awesome. Doing imports, yes. SQL, fingers crossed, authentication. Give this one moment here. Awesome, there we go. All right, so press OK. Cool. Up here at the very top, within the formula bar, we can see the M language SQL.database, kind of the server address, the database name, and then the query. So select star from cells lt.address. I love writing SQL, love just typing SQL top to bottom. But I now want to also do some of the fun stuff, the point and clicks. I'm going to go to country region. We're going to do United States again. And then we'll do our state province, just leveraging the menus. So we'll do Missouri. Awesome, press OK. If I can get it this time. Missouri. Press OK. Cool. Whew, beat. All the SQL I've been writing, I know Power Query is going to help me out though here on the point and clicks. Check my applied steps here on the right-hand side. View native queries grayed out. Clicking, 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 nothing. Why is that? Go back up here, original statement, select star from. At this point, you have told Power Query, I know exactly what I want to grab. I want to go grab this data. I want to bring this into the, the application. If you were to do anything past this, it would almost be like a SQL injection. So, I can't update the original SQL statement. So at this point, you've brought in all of this data. Anything you do after the fact here in terms of your applied steps, all of that is going to be done through the mashup engine of Power Query. So this M language, the mashup language, the mashup engine. So what I typically see is where people want to write SQL, it's very, 90% their statement, but they want to do kind of that last 10%, the fun stuff in Power Query. At that point, their query, their data collection, their refreshing comes to a crawl. And I say this as seeing dataset refreshes go from 2.5 hours down to 5 minutes because of simple things like this, where maybe it was a step earlier that got placed in the wrong order. Maybe it was a combination of them wanting to write SQL and then after the fact do transformations. So just think about it from kind of the dev side. That would almost be like updating the SQL, kind of doing some type of SQL injection. So just not possible, not allowed. So let's take this then further. So I'm in Power Query in Power BI Desktop. I now want to talk about premium capacity. So as you get into large enterprise organizations, scenarios, you know, all these data set, these refreshes, these throttling, getting stuck in the mashup engine. This is as of today, but this is going to be lifted here with our Power BI Premium Gen 2. So model refresh parallelism here on the right-hand side. So if you were to get into a P1 scenario, kind of just to get started here, you could have 6 models refreshing concurrently. So 6 models refreshing in kind of concurrently. Obviously, it then goes into queue-based system. If there's way too many in the queue, it starts evicting them. Obviously, if your capacity runs way too hot, at that point, it's just going to lock up, and then you'll get the nasty grams of people saying, "Well, you know, what is going on?" So you want to get in and out as quickly as possible here with these model refreshes. So the difference of having a model that refreshes in 2.5 hours because of a few bad steps that were applied versus in, you know, possibly 2 to 3 minutes. That is a huge world of difference when you think about model refresh parallelism. So within the Power BI service here now, let me jump over here to this window. They do give some just insights here within your capacity. So admin portal refresh summary, you can see the history of events, but then you can also look at the scheduling. So I'll choose a capacity here, Champs demos, and then I'll zoom in. Awesome. So refresh time booked versus refresh time available. So basically it's a 30-minute block from 12 to 12:30, 30 times 6 for our P1 model refresh parallelism. 6 times 30 equals 180 minutes. So of that time available, how much did you have booked? How much did you use? Obviously, I only used 1 minute of kind of that 30-minute or that 180-minute block here within that 30-minute segment. So from there, looking at this, thinking about this from the dev perspective, you know, where are the opportunities for, you know, optimization, improvements? You know, is it further upstream in kind of the ETL process, or is it maybe where the business users are at? How do we just go in there and maybe fine tune some of their M language that's available? Power Query Online. So new data flow. We'll just create a new entity here now. Now let's do a blank. So Power Query, choose our data set. Do a blank query. Yep. Let's source. We'll do a hello world just to get us started. I'll press next. And then my favorite part about Power Query is always going to be it's one language. So jumping back over here, saleslt.address. We copy this one from Excel, paste it in Power BI desktop. We're now in Power Query Online, paste. Yep. Control V. There we go. Specify how to connect. We'll do our Microsoft account, sign in. Cool. So Power BI champs. Awesome. Press connect. Already connected. Come on. See, yelling at me about the cat names. Now, of course, that one renders, right? All right, well, it copies and pastes, obviously authentication here, but a solution that's built in one program, move to another, move to another, move to another. If you're looking at kind of data dumps, so we'll do Power Automate now. So maybe there's a timed event where users want to have kind of this data exported from a SQL database, stored in a SharePoint, stored in maybe just blob storage. These same activities that they're doing today, kind of within this Power Query, this ETL canvas, if they were to just go out and create a new flow, and then using the Azure SQL Database connector. So let's do kind of a new, we'll just do an instance, manually trigger, Power Query, press create, new step, Power Query. Here we go. So transform data using Power Query, available within SQL Server. So this is a premium connector, so it does require obviously just a Power Automate license, so something to keep in mind there. But I love Power Automate, so it definitely makes it worth kind of the cost investment there. So let's do kind of authenticate. Choose. Well, at least we know MFA is working. Awesome. You got triple authenticate on that one. Cool. Failed. Oh. Well, I'll just take the long way then. But executing commands here within SQL Server. Let's do Power Apps, .Microsoft. Do business apps. The same technology in terms of Power Query Online, available within data flows as well. Same solutions, copy and paste, point and click. Just do Power BI Champs. And we'll see if we can get this going. Cool. All right, so data here on the left-hand side, entities. Get this moment to load. Cool. So our get data process, just like we saw kind of over in Power Query, just the get data, opens up the window here now. So Power Query, obviously we can choose kind of our connectors, Azure SQL Database, same language, bring it in over here, hello world, I'll drop it in again. Hello world, press next. Power Query, same menu, same language, same solutions, copying and pasting. So a solution that works in Excel can be copied and pasted over into Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop can be pasted into Power Query Online and Power BI. It can also be pasted into Power Apps, also into Power Automate. So just, that's like 4 different areas with one language. That's just an impressive kind of return on your investment. But to get back to kind of the dev side here, we're thinking about performance. We're thinking about, well, how do we start monitoring these things? So we're going to pull up just Azure SQL Data Studio, Azure Data Studio. Awesome. So all these events are captured within Data Studio. You can use SQL Server Profiler just like you're doing today, just to capture these events. If you want to drop them into a log, obviously that's fine too, but just teaching your users, maybe how they can start looking at optimizing, and then also kind of execution plans. So we'll connect out to that Azure database. No, I don't want to tour. Get out of here. All right, there we go. database, connect that to our AdventureWorks, and then we'll also, am I just getting blacklisted today? All right, let's see here. Do a connect. Fingers crossed. All right, still have a job. All of our tables, just like we saw, you do Alt-P, kind of getting into kind of profiler now. Connected to our database. We'll just do a start profiling events. Jump back over to Power Query in our desktop. Press refresh preview. Done. We can now see a lot of these events. So let me expand this out a little bit. Application is our mashup engine, just as we talked about earlier. We can see all the logins. We can see the batch execution. So let me stretch this out a little bit. So we'll close this. Actually, let's go ahead and clear this filter and clear data. I'm going to load this now into the model, close and apply. And then we'll see here, just as this loads, the events will start kind of filtering through to Profiler. Awesome. So we can see a lot of these, and now let's find out kind of our duration here. Let's do some joins. There it is. So there was our SQL statement that was generated on the database side. We can see it executed by the mashup engine. So things that we should be looking out for, kind of at least within the logs. Knowing that this is a language as well, obviously we always like to have pretty code. So with that, there is a kind of a formatter here now. Just copy and paste this code into our application. So let's do transform data here real quick. To our advanced editor, we'll snag this code. There's too many things going. I'm getting there. All right, cool. So we have the code. We love having readable format. So within VS Code now, there is a Power Query formula language highlighter, and then also this provides format documents. So if you want to have stylized your code, Power Query formatter is available. Autocomplete, IntelliSense. You know, I'm a guy who just likes reading the code. I can see exactly, you know, kind of the areas that I need to tune or optimize whenever customers or kind of coworkers send me their Power Query outputs. This also extends though into Visual Studio. So as we talked about earlier, if you're looking at, well, you know, maybe I want to start building out these connectors, you know, for people or kind of within my business as well. Visual Studio Code does support kind of a standalone editor, so an mQuery output. Same language, you could build your solution completely in Power BI, Desktop, Excel, Power Query Online, and Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, whatever you want to build it. You could productionalize it over here. Once again, an expression editor window. We executed the command hello world. It returned just the same if we wanted to return a list 1.100. We could do that here too. mQuery output, a list of values from 1 to 100. So just a standalone application available within Visual Studio. But let me jump back over to kind of close up here and just dive into some more questions. Query folding though. So as a developer, as a DBA, you know, we love that the business is kind of, you know, out running on their own, but we also understand that it could be dangerous. Query folding. Definitely a topic I would recommend looking into. If you see a lot of refreshes that have kind of long duration wait times, go back. Maybe it's a step or two that you need to just kind of redo for the business, or if you're just going to do it all upstream, that's completely fine too. Like I said, leverage their blank canvas as a way to kind of paint the final picture. But this is the mashup engine, so if they break something, whether that be writing a SQL statement, doing a transformation that is not supported, all of that will be transferred over the mashup engine. So at that point, a refresh that maybe takes 2 minutes to execute, then takes 2 hours, which then throttles your kind of premium capacity scenarios in Power BI, just wasted dollars. That's how I always look at it. So just how do we think about, optimizing these to get as quickly as possible with the data set refreshes? Query folding, just in a nutshell, it generates this underlying language of your database. For the end user, they may never even see it. All they'll ever know is I'm out in an application, I'm doing my points and clicks. Behind the scenes, it's translated into the source's native query language. So like in this example, just a simple select star from the database where gender is equal to female, so we're F. It then folds that back into our database. They apply their next step, the next step, the next step. Obviously, if at some point the query folding is broke, that is when the mashup engine comes in to overcompensate. So with that, my recommended practices especially. This is just for me doing it, repeatedly. This is how I approach it with my framework. I say do all of your filters and joins just immediately. Transformations kind of next up. And then column selections, which seems a little bit inverse, but it just makes it a lot easier here in terms of the system generated SQL, but applying it in this order, because what I would hate for you to do is have the query folding break right off the bat, and then all of it is stuck up in the mashup engine. So potentially bringing, let's say 600 million rows all up in a mashup engine, you're running out of resources, running out of time in terms of availability, as opposed to just doing it at the very bottom, where you've done all of your filters and joins, you've done all the transformations, column selections. If it's that last little portion that is much smaller that you have to kind of bring the mashup engine, just easier to handle kind of on the dev side and kind of the end user side. Where can you find kind of the view native query? Just if you right click on any of the applied steps within supported sources. So obviously databases, maybe OData feeds support this. Text or CSVs obviously don't have a kind of a database backend, so those would just not be applicable. But this is a kind of a good to have, but it's also not the truth, because there will be some scenarios where it will break, but it's actually still folding. That's where I always say go back to Profiler, go check your logs. But there could also be times where it says that it is folding and it's not. So use this as maybe kind of a guide, but don't leverage it as the truth. And then to kind of jump over here as well, Power Query, it started in Excel like we did today. It's for the business analyst. It's to take the things that they know, the problems that they're solving every day, maybe the world of ETL that they know nothing about, don't even understand the acronym, but they know what they're trying to solve. It's the point and clicks. From that, they start moving into kind of more of this solution developer within the Power Platform, whether that be Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, or even Power Virtual Agents. They're starting to kind of move past the problem solver into more like productionalized scenarios. They still need the help though. So this is where kind of IT really coming in at the last step here, more of like an integration specialist. So I see what you've drawn on the canvas. I see what you're trying to build. Let me help you productionalize it. I'll just be honest. There's way more problem solvers than there probably is people in IT right now. They're doing the job day in, day out. The low-code platform is just lowering that barrier for entry, but they still kind of need kind of these pro dev skills. So the more that you can think about this as, well, let's treat it as a canvas of a picture that they're trying to paint, and let's just come in and kind of at the last and just help them, kind of with our knowledge, just really productionalizing this. For some of the topics I talked about today, at least with the M language, it's not for you. I'll just be honest there. And I love this diagram from kind of one of the kind of leaders out in the space of Power Query and Gil Raviv. Freeform code editing in the advanced editor is only going to be about the very 0.001% of us out there. You'll never have to write the code. If you want to do some more advanced iterations, obviously you can maybe be a part of that 1% that is going to be out there. Custom functions, maybe part of the 5%, where you're like, all right, I'm doing these repeated patterns. I'm actually going to write kind of some custom functions now. Most, if not everything that needs to be done in Power Query can be done through the point-and-click interface. So the message kind of that I want to impart with everyone is the graphical user interface is awesome, but it can be extremely dangerous. Inefficient queries are generated. It's something to kind of monitor there in terms of the performance. But if you're noticing that kind of the refresh times are spiking, getting data in your systems are just taking way too long, taking too many resources, go look at the code, go look at the steps, think about that upside down pyramid that I talked about. Do we apply our filters and joins at the top? Do we apply our transformations in the middle? Do we apply our select columns at the end? If so, then that's great. Hopefully at that point, it's just blazing fast. But if it's not, just do the transformations upstream through SQL Server integration services or even Azure Data Factory. Which brings me to my next point. If you want your service to be a hit, make sure it works with Excel. This journey with Power Query started all the way back in October of 2011 in a product that was called SQL Azure Labs. 2 years later, it was then added into Excel as just a kind of an add-in. Just go out and download it. Just have it be there as a new ribbon. I always like to call this arrow though adoption. It's when our community adopted the technology, they fell in love with it. From there, it's been a rocket ship. So as of July 2013, it was added to Excel natively in Office 2013. From there, Power BI, included within Azure Analysis Services, included within Power Automate, Power Apps, Power Query Online. There is a SQL Server Integration Services extension for Power Query. So if you wanted to copy and paste your code or to SSIS, boom, up and running. Azure Data Factory, added as of May 2019. It's still very early on, but the possibility to do petabyte scale data transformations using a low-code point-and-click interface, that is extremely exciting. In Excel on a Mac, I'm not worried about the Mac people. They're out there, but I'm not worried about it. They do have it now, though. It's still limited to just like Excel files, text, CSV. They are working on it, though, in terms of parity. And I think that's something you may come across, too, is some of these are a little bit more robust than others. Kind of Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Apps definitely being kind of the ones that have the most robust experiences. But everyone else is starting to benefit. And then September of 2020 here at Ignite, they did announce that Power Query is coming to Azure Synapse. So if you're wanting to do, obviously, just large-scale data transformations of your SQL data warehouse using the Power Query interface, that is going to be a possibility. So this one language spanning nearly a dozen different applications within Microsoft. That is insane to think about, just like that return on your investment, learning a little bit about Power Query, learning a little bit here in terms of query folding, the areas to watch out for. That'll be huge, just the more that this product is kind of integrated. And then, of course, just as of today, I know we've blazed through a lot here, but just any questions, suggestions, or if you think that I'm crazy here talking about Power Query, well, I love it. Let me know. Always happy to kind of dive into a little bit kind of deeper depth. But with that, thank you for hanging out. Alan, go ahead. You're on mute. I don't know if he's on another call. I think Alan's on another call. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, let me know. Happy to kind of drill into a little bit, especially with the custom connectors. If that is a kind of a business avenue you're wanting to go into, I mean, it's extremely lucrative. I just say there's riches in the niches there. Not a lot of people are doing it.
Hi, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, because of my credential and somewhat trouble to join the meeting.
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah, can this be shared with everyone? I mean, I joined late. I mean, just the last 5 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, we can share it out for you.
Sure. Thank you. Maybe, if
No,
we
you're
have any
fine.
questions, we'll come back to you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
I'll
you.
share the deck and we'll get the recording out there as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep. Welcome. Cool. Well, then I'll let everyone kind of hang out here. I don't know if their next session kind of backs up 2 hours, but I don't know. You can call me a lazy man, but I just want to learn one thing. And the fact that it spans, almost 12 different technologies, I just love that that is a fantastic return on my investment of time. Obviously, SQL, and just being able to write SQL is such a great skill to have, but I don't think that it's like the need to have anymore, especially with just kind of these low-code tools, this kind of point-and-click interface. Really, the area that I see, especially with the kind of the dev side here, is taking your knowledge that you understand with kind of performance tuning, execution plans, obviously just monitoring in general, helping the business there. It's not doing everything for them. It's, hey, have you tried Power Query? What is it that you're trying to do? Can you draw it for me in Power Query? Can you copy and paste me the M script? From there, up and running, from one application to the next. I still come back to, I don't think that it is a language that a lot of people need to kind of dive into. For me, I'm definitely up here in kind of that 0.001, but that's just me being a weird person. It's what I enjoy. I think it's such a fascinating language to kind of get my hands on, but I don't think it's for everyone. And the reason why I think that a lot of the things that can be accomplished are kind of right up here. Kind of about 80% can all be done through either the point and click or even just a custom, add custom column within Power Query. But that's why I'm excited. Just bringing ETL to the masses without them having to really kind of understand the full breadth of all the different kind of pieces. Awesome. All right, well, if there's no additional questions, I'll make sure you kind of get the deck here, especially just if you have anything, feel free to connect with me. If you're noticing maybe like, hey, some of these items, they may actually be relevant to what you're doing now with kind of data refreshes, either through, Power BI, Power Apps, etc. Reach out, let me know, because especially if it's just like, what if we change this? What if we change that? Do you think that there could be some benefits? I say because within our user group, we've had 2-hour refreshes come down to 30 seconds because of one simple sort step that broke the query folding. Took all of their data, had to bring it up in the mashup engine, then resort it because that operation wasn't supported. From there, one step, this one idea of query folding, they went back and they removed that because it wasn't relevant to what they were actually trying to accomplish. It took their refresh times from 2 hours down to 30 seconds. And that all speaks back to this model refresh parallelism. If all you can have is 6 models refreshing in parallel, you're burning through that in a 2-hour bucket when it really should be 30 seconds. These are the kind of optimizations that I want the devs, in the room, in the kind of in the organization, looking at as these, low-code platforms are, starting to come into your business. As you adopt them, there are going to be these moments where, the business users can get themselves into trouble. Let's just help correct them where we can. But awesome. Cool. Well, with that, thank you, everyone, for your time. I will be back later here today for a hands-on keyboard session for application lifecycle management within Power BI. So if you're interested in kind of learning about multi-developer kind of merging files together, later on today, ALM Toolkit in an hour. And that will be a hands-on keyboard session. So thank you. Love the jacket as well, Becky, if you're still hanging out. But appreciate moderating as well, Ajay.
Hey, you're welcome. See you, everyone.